Fanshawe Conservation Area. My name is Heather.
And I'm Fiona.
And today we are here at the Tamarack Trail within the park to give you an introduction to hiking at Fanshawe Conservation Area in the winter time. So we are going to focus on Tamarack Trail today, and if you are new to Canada, if you are new to Ontario, or you just haven't ever been to the park before, this is a really great trail to get started on here in the park. So in the winter time, if you've actually been here before or have read about the park, usually the gates that are closing the entrance to the park during camping season are now totally gone. So it is free to access the park during this season. This is a really short loop that's really great to take with families with kids, and it's also one of our most popular spots in the park to feed the birds. If you are interested in feeding the seed-eating birds in the winter time, this is a great spot to do it with black sunflower seeds. Those are their favorite treats.
The great thing about hiking in the winter is your ability to be able to see animal tracks as you're going through the forest. So here we can see a whole series of tracks. There's some bird footprints. You can see them hopping as they've moved along, gathering food. You can also see a set of squirrel tracks as they've been jumping from tree to tree, gathering some pine cones to chew. And then there's also, looks like some rabbit tracks, and they've probably moved through the park here in the evening as well.
The Tamarack Trail, you will notice a pretty iconic tree species of this area, which is right here next to me, and this is white cedar. So white cedar trees have scale leaves is usually how we describe them. So they are conifers, but their leaves are not really pokey and sharp like other pines or spruces. They're a little bit softer, and they have these flat scale-like leaves. Sometimes people call cedar trees a scratch and sniff tree because if you do scratch the leaves and kind of dig up some of the oil that the leaves contain, it makes this really lovely scent that you can enjoy. So that's always fun for kids, is to scratch and sniff the cedar tree. The cedar tree is also really important for the wildlife that live here at the park, especially deer. So if you do want to see where the deer spend the night, we call them deer beds, you would notice underneath a lot of these trees is where the deer would bed down for the night. That's because having their needles on all winter long offers this space a lot of shelter for any animals that are hanging out here during the night or hanging out here to get some rest in the forest. Of course, further down on the Tamarack Trail, you are going to get the opportunity to see the namesake for Tamarack Trail, and that is all of the tamarack trees that we have here in this forest. So the tamarack tree, or a larch tree, as you might have heard it called in other parts of the world, is a really unique tree species that we have growing all throughout this area. Tamaracks are unique because they are conifers, which means that they grow cones, they have needles, but in the fall, tamarack needles all turn yellow, just like deciduous trees that you would see, and then the needles all fall off, and the trees don't have any needles in the winter time. So even though this is a coniferous tree, it kind of behaves like a deciduous tree. So you might hike here in the wintertime and look up and see all of these tamaracks and think, I wonder if all these trees are dead. And the answer is they're not dead. They just don't have their needles on for the wintertime, and they will grow back in the springtime. That's exactly how they're supposed to look.
While we've been out here on the Tamarack Trail, we've noticed a bunch of different tracks. Not only have we noticed animal tracks, including raccoon and squirrel and deer, but we've also noticed different kinds of people tracks too. So some people have been snowshoeing, even cross-country skiing. You could pull along a toboggan pretty easily enough behind you. We've also run into some families that have been walking their dog on a leash. So there's lots of different ways to experience the trails here at Fanshawe Conservation Area. One of the animal signs that we've noticed along our hike today has been from the red squirrel. So earlier we got to see some of the pine cones that have been flaked off to get to the seed on the inside. And then now we've noticed that some of the trees have had their bark removed. And red squirrels are pretty known to do that. So what they'll do is they'll scrape the bark off and then they'll use that bark to form a nest in a conifer tree, just like this one here. And so they'll build the nest pretty high up and then have it as a warm shelter for them to stay inside of on really, really cold days like today. The gray squirrel will build a nest in a different type of tree. So this would be the red squirrel putting this to work, but the gray squirrel would be collecting leaves and sticks and building its nest in a tree that would have lost its leaves. And we call those nests strays. We just finished our walk along the Tamarack Trail, enjoying the nice winter weather that we have here at Fanshawe Conservation Area. If you're gonna make it out this winter, just remember that the trails are open between dawn and dusk. And once again, the park will be opening on May 1st. So that'll be the return of many of the services such as washrooms and garbages, and also the opening of the campground. So if you don't make it out here this winter, that's okay. We look forward to seeing you in May. Thanks for taking a hike with us today. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.